It's been 20 years since the last Onimusha title, and for 2 entire console generations, the absence of its particular brand of Genma-slaying stood out more and more as time passed. Thankfully, after a long wait, we're finally getting Onimusha: The Way of the Sword, a clean slate of sorts in terms of the narrative, but one that honors the series' tradition and expands on its combat in exciting new ways. Launching on September 4th for Xbox Series X and S, PS5, PC, and Nintendo Switch 2, Onimusha: Way of the Sword could round off an excellent year for its developer. Here's everything you should know before pre-ordering, starting with story and setting. Without prominently the original trilogy focused on the Sengoku period, it's easy to forget that the last mainline title, Dawn of Dreams, actually featured Kyoto in the Edo period. Regardless of how things turned out, the city is once again a prime location for Genma occupation, with malice overtaking everything. It would seem that all hope is lost until an unlikely swordsman appears. Musashi, Sasaki, and more. That would be the legendary Miyamoto Musashi, who's still in the wandering stages of his life, looking for strong opponents to take on. Naturally, he gets more than he bargains for, falling at the hands of the Genma before receiving the Oni gauntlet and being brought back to life. Musashi features the likeness of legendary actor Toshiro Mifune, of Rashomon, Yojimbo, Seven Samurai, and more, with the development team taking 2 years to secure the rights. Of course, no tale of Musashi is complete without his rival Sasaki Ganryu, who also wields an Oni gauntlet and opposes him at every turn. Other notable characters include the dancer Izumo no Okuni, the poet Ono no Takamura, who also curiously possesses an Oni gauntlet, and the Oni lady within Musashi's gauntlet. Obviously, there are further mysteries to resolve, but it wouldn't be an Onimusha title without some intrigue. Linear adventure.
There's nothing but fiends and horror beyond here. If you mean to pass through, I urge you reconsider.
It also wouldn't warrant the name if this were an open-world title or Souls-like. Director Satoru Nihei denied that it's either when speaking to Automaton Media, later telling Famitsu that progression is stage-based. So it's essentially a linear adventure like Resident Evil Requiem and Pragmata, the company's other 2 major games for the year. Of course, there are some exceptions. Side quests and open areas. In a recent preview with PC Gamer, Way of the Sword is confirmed to offer some more environments where you can engage in side quests or other activities. You'll explore a good chunk of Kyoto, speaking to NPCs and learning more about the city's strange tales. You might even encounter a hidden boss here and there. Again, not open world, but you won't always be stuck on the straight and narrow. Combat, parrying, and deflection. Hacking and slashing have always been the series' calling card, but the formula has seen some serious upgrades here. You have a choice between one-handed and two-handed attacks, which are faster and more powerful respectively. But there's also parrying, and before you roll your eyes at yet another Sekiro-like, the parrying in Way of the Sword lets you redirect enemies, sometimes into the environment to clock their stamina. If you're chaining together parries, then Blazing State becomes active, increasing damage and causing attacks to create more blue souls for the Oni gauntlet. More on that shortly. Deflection also keeps foes off balance while reducing their stamina, and while you won't be able to redirect them, it can reflect projectiles. Even evasion is more than just a simple dodge. Timing it right, which is known as a reflex dodge, allows for a strong follow-up, but if used against grapples, you can actually reverse them, pulling an enemy close for a deadly slash. Pull off enough reflex dodges, and you'll execute a multi-slash attack against a foe, known as a reflex combo. Blade Barrage and Blade Lock. At its heart, Onimusha: Way of the Sword is about the clashing of blades, so of course there has to be a mechanic where Musashi and an opponent jockey for supremacy. This is called Blade Lock and requires tapping the correct inputs to succeed. There's also Blade Barrage, where 2 similar attacks colliding results in a flurry of swings and clashes. The key to success is using a one-handed attack against a two-hander and vice versa. It's all about paying attention to your opponent. Also, besides being able to redirect opponents into the environment to reduce their stamina, Musashi can use it in other unique ways. Pull up a tatami mat and send it flying into a target, or throw it into a clothesline to temporarily blind them, and maybe cause them to attack their allies. Issen. Issen is the art of counterattacking, but not after a parry or a deflection. Oh no, you need to attack at the moment before an enemy's strike lands. If performed successfully, Musashi will sidestep in a flash and deliver a highly damaging counter-strike, which also creates more souls to absorb. Naturally, you can chain Issen attacks to slay multiple enemies, but there's also Break Issen, which becomes available if an enemy's stamina is exhausted. It's especially great against bosses because it allows for targeting different body parts, thus adding more strategy. Oni Gauntlet and Abilities. I don't know much about Oni Lady, but if there's one thing the Oni Gauntlet craves, it's souls. There will be many created throughout Musashi's many battles, each with different benefits. Yellow souls restore health, while blue souls activate Oni armament skills. Red souls are used to unlock new abilities or upgrade equipment. However, Musashi will also gain new Oni abilities over time, including Oni Vision to reveal hidden elements and Oni Strength to strengthen attacks. He can even wall run with Oni Agility, although it is limited to specific surfaces. Oni Armaments. Besides the bow, Musashi has access to Oni Armaments, special Oni weapons that can be activated after gathering enough blue souls. The quick stab and dual wielding of the two Celestials, the heavy of the Earth Shakers, and the wide range of the Wind Whipper mean that they each occupy a unique niche in combat. That extends to their secondary benefits as well. The Earth Shakers, for example, are great against shields and tear through an enemy's stamina, opening them up to Break Essence. The two Celestials can generate yellow souls for recovering health. Meanwhile, the Wind Whipper can defend against projectiles and gain the properties of nearby flames to scorch fools. Dismemberment. Topping off everything about the combat is Dismemberment. It's brutal and above all, extremely varied. You might cleave right through an enemy's chest with their upper torso sliding in the direction of your slash. You may cleanly bisect them so that their allies can dig two graves or cleanly behead them. Way of the Sword isn't shying away from the visceral nature of sword-based combat, and it's all the better for it. No connection to previous games. Given the setting and characters, you shouldn't expect any connection to the plots of previous games. That said, several enemies will definitely remind you of the classics, like the Chijiko channeling Reynaldo from Onimusha 1. As Nihei notes, all of the enemies in this game are brand new, and while the team certainly pays homage to some of the older games, we've kind of taken elements from them and remixed them for the new Genma in this title. Difficulty options. If you played the demo, then two difficulties stood out the most: story and action. And while the overall challenge felt lacking, producer Akihito Kadawaki revealed that it's an early part of the story, and Musashi possesses certain late-game skills to offer a taste of what to expect. Rest assured, in the final game, the bosses and the regular Genma will put up a tougher fight. He later told Game Informer that there would be options to change the difficulty on a more granular scale, allowing you to fine-tune the challenge accordingly. Playtime. Even with its focus on more linear, stage-progressed progression, it should take about 20 hours to complete the game. It's unknown whether that includes extra content or tougher difficulties, but it definitely feels like the perfect length, falling very close to Onimusha Dawn of Dreams, which took about 19 hours to finish the story. Console frame rates and resolutions. Onimusha Way of the Sword features two modes on Xbox Series X and S and PS5, performance and quality. On Series X and PS5, you can expect 2160p upscaled from 60 FPS on the former and 2160p 30 to 40 FPS with the latter. Series X delivers an upscaled 1080p 60 FPS and 1080p 30 to 50 FPS respectively. Nintendo Switch 2 offers TV and handheld modes with 1080p 30 FPS and 900p 30 FPS respectively, both upscaled. However, variable frame rate is supported to deliver 30 to 40 FPS if you want something higher. PC requirements. As for you PC players, an Intel Core i5-8400 or an AMD Ryzen 3 3100, 16GB of RAM, and a GeForce GTX 1660 6GB or a Radeon RX 5500 XT 8GB are required at minimum for 1080p 30fps on low settings. The recommended requirements include a Core i5-10400 or Ryzen 5 3600, 16GB of RAM, and an RTX 2060 Super 8GB or a Radeon RX 6600 8GB for 1080p 60fps on medium settings. This is with upscaling enabled, as DLSS 4.0 and 4.5 alongside FSR 3.1 will be available at launch. Way of the Sword also demands a solid-state drive across the board and 50GB of space for installation. Hey, did you know that we at GamingBolt upload new videos every day? Stick around, drop a like, subscribe, and hit that bell. And let us know what kind of content you'd like to see in the future with a comment below.